I used to think starting a hair business required a lot of upfront investment. Turned out I was wrong. And this is when I discovered the magic of pre-order, and it changed everything for my business. In this video, I'm going to tell you the real story behind how I was able to launch my hair business using a pre-ordering process without breaking the bank, and how you can do it too. And how I was also able to move from that pre-ordering process to a stage where I'm able to have a lot of hair on hand whenever my clients need it. As someone that was working 9 to 5, being a mom and also a wife, I wanted that entrepreneurial dream. I've actually had this hair business before and it completely failed because I wasn't able to find a strategy that will work for my business in order to be able to grow it to the stage where I am right now. So when I decided to start again my hair business, I started first by testing a lot of vendors. I tested so many hair and this cost a lot of money. Even though I tested those hair, I was wearing them, so there was no way I would want to sell anything that I wear on my head. So my initial plan was, once I have tested all of the vendors and I'm able to find the vendor that works for my business, the next plan was to go to a bank and get a loan so that I can invest in my hair business. However, that came with a lot of thinking because I felt like I have spent so much testing hair, getting another loan that will require me to then pay back every month. Where am I going to get that monthly payment from? Even though I have a 9 to 5, I have other obligations with my finances. So obviously adding a loan payment into that wasn't going to be ideal, especially since I have done a first failed business before and I don't know how this one would go. It got to a point where I had to choose between testing 2 vendors or buying stock for my business. Now, you probably say, why are you testing 2 vendors when you've already tested vendors? So I tested vendors, but I felt like that hair was not to par. I felt like there was something missing, and I thought to myself, you know what? I need to test 2 more vendors so that I am fully sure that I've got the best vendor for my business, which meant that the money that I had to be able to buy from Few Stock for my business, I didn't have it anymore because I chose to test 2 more vendors. After all of this testing, I was fully satisfied, and I think I was already testing and test wearing the second vendor, which I already had the hair. I was really happy with the results I was getting, but now it is time to actually start my hair business. But with no stock in hand, it seemed like an impossible mission. And the plan I had was, you know what, I'm going to walk up to a bank and I'm going to try and get a loan that I can put into my first stock. During this testing phase, I was already posting on my social media account. I was posting my hair, I was posting the hairstyles, and I was getting quite a few feedback. I was getting people asking me, okay, can I buy your hair? And I kept saying, I'm not ready yet. It's not launched yet. I don't have it in hand yet. And that was the biggest mistake, which made me lose quite a few customers just because I didn't understand this process. Funny enough, it was actually a customer that gave me the idea of a pre-ordering process. So they approached me and said they wanted hair from me, and I said, oh, I'm not ready yet. I don't even have stock yet. I'm just trying to get ready, get people to know my brand first. And they said, you know, why don't you do a pre-ordering process? I'm gonna pay you for it, just order the hair for me. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when I thought to myself, why don't I just start this process? So I've honestly never really given a thought about pre-ordering. I know about dropshipping, and I said to myself, there is no way I'm going to do dropship, because number one, my products don't even align with dropshipping because I still need to style the hair, I still need to make it look nice. So dropshipping was not an option for me. So once I got this idea in my head, before I collected the money from the clients, I had to go to my shortlisted 2 vendors that I shortlisted, and I had to ask them if they're okay with a pre-ordering process. I also had to ask them what their delivery time scale would be, because I know that it takes time during production to get hair to me, especially when it comes to the Vietnamese vendors. So I had to question them and say, okay, how long do you think this would take if I order the hair from you today? Once I was able to get that time scale in place, then I was able to reach out to the customer and let them know that, okay, that's fine. I'm more than happy to create the wig for you, but this is how long that the hair will take to get to you once it's done. And that was how I started pre-ordering without actually having to invest a dime of my money into my first few stocks. Once I was able to get this out of the way, the hair came to me, everything went on smoothly. Then I started this by putting some updates on my website, letting people know about what this order process would be, how long the hair would take to get to them once they place an order. At this stage, I felt confident. I felt like it was the right thing to do because number one, they've confirmed what the time scale will be. I've added the time that I need to be able to create the wig, I've also put it on my website so that people would know when it's time for them to place an order. And this was done by an app, was a Shopify app, where it would put it on there that this is pre-order. So when you click on it, it's going to let you know that you need to pre-order the wig. And here is another problem that I encountered. Even though I had a pre-ordering process in place, everything was ready for me to launch. My day of launch, I made $0. And I was confused because I felt like I followed all of the strategy that you hear from the gurus when it comes to launching your business. I was on Instagram, I was on my stories, I was sharing people so that they know that this hair is launching. I talked about the dates, and best believe I made $0, and that devastated me. I didn't stop. I realized that even though I had Shopify, something telling them that this is a pre-order, you need to pre-order the hair, even though it's on my description, I needed to convince people to give me their money so that they can buy hair from me. And at that point, I did not convince them enough. This is one thing you need to understand when it comes to a pre-ordering process. Even though you don't need to spend a lot of money during the initial investment, you need to spend a lot of time to include several steps when it comes to marketing, which is like, know, and trust. People need to like you. They need to like what you're selling. They need to like your wig. They need to like the way that your wig looks. They need to know you. They also need to know that you're not going to run anywhere, and they need to trust you. Once you're able to get this like, know, and trust in place, then your pre-ordering process will work exceedingly well. And the way that I did this was I created so many helpful, valuable content around the like. I created valuable content about what they can do when they get their wigs. It wasn't just me posting my content on how my wig looks or how pretty my wig looks. I had to share valuable content with them, and that brought a lot of like, and that brought a lot of know as well, because they were able to know my brand. They were able to understand what I was selling. It wasn't just about me selling wigs, it was also about me sharing tips and tricks that could help them as a wig wearer. And for them to trust me, I shared reviews about what they thought about my hair. I shared a lot of reviews, and that made a lot of the customers trust me. So once I was able to get the like and the know and the trust content in place, and I could see that it was working, then it was time for me to start prepping to relaunch my website. If I'm able to sell 5 wigs during that week of launch, then I'm able to turn over that money and buy more stock. And I kid you not, on the day that I launched, I just started watching how orders were coming in one by one. I was so excited. I was so grateful to God, because I never thought that I would reach that goal and exceed that goal within few hours. It felt like a dream. I made so much money out of it. I was able to buy the hair, get the hair shipped to the customers, and then buy more hair to stock. Also, one of the things that I learned when it comes to the pre-ordering process was that it would teach you what your customers would like. So if I had gone out there and I've just bought some wigs and just bought different texture of hair because I felt like that is what I like, I noticed that when it was time to launch my hair, the wigs that I thought would do well didn't actually do well. It was the ones that I thought would just be like a one-off buy, or maybe they're too expensive. Those are the ones that did well. And using a pre-ordering process helped me a lot to be able to understand who my target audience were, and to be able to create more products that aligns with their interests. When it comes to starting a pre-ordering process, you need to be able to have a reliable vendor. A vendor that will ship the hair for you at the time that they said that they will ship the hair for you, because some of these vendors can drive you, especially if you are doing a pre-ordering process. Stress that pre-ordering comes with, because yes, it does have its cons, which is this is out of your hands. Like, the initial stage is out of your hands. It's when the hair gets to you that you have full control. But because you're waiting for the hair, you're hoping someone does their job so that you can do the best job for your customer. This is why it's very important when it comes to this process to have a reliable vendor. And you can do this by asking the right questions. If you're unsure, you can check this video here on what kind of questions to ask your vendor, or how you can also vet your vendor. Another thing, like I shared initially, was build an online presence. Make sure that they like, know, and trust you. Make sure that they understand the process that you're going into, because some people will not understand it. So they'll buy hair from you and they will expect to get the hair in 3 days. So be transparent about the process, because it just makes it easier for you mental health wise, because they're aware of what the process will be when they order hair from you. Another tip to give you, when you're doing this, give yourself a bit of time. Even though your vendor is telling you they will get the hair to you in 7 days, have it in mind that the hair will get to you in 9 days, so that you have enough time to be able to create the best wig for your customer, because if you are too tight on time, you may end up not delivering what is best for your customer, which may upset your customer. And since this is a new business, and even if it's an old business, you need to ensure that your customers are happy every time you ship their hair to them. If you've been waiting for the right moment to start, this is your sign. You're watching this video for a reason. You don't need a lot of money to start. You just need that initial money to test the hair, and once you've gotten the test process out of the way, it gets easier. Check out this video here on step-by-step guide if you want to launch, if you want to know what kind of content to create. Once you're able to do all of that, the next step for you is to just wait until someone buys the hair from you. Once you get that first order, that is it. Your pre-ordering process is in place. So don't give up, because when I was about to give up, when I was stressing about it, that was when this idea came from nowhere. Even though I've been doing hair, I never really thought about pre-ordering. I was just thinking about drop shipping, and I told myself I was never going to do that. So you're watching this video for a reason. Get up now, get to work, and I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.